All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting of the Planning Commission to order at 6:04. Planning Commission Secretary, may we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Cervantes, Commissioner Flores,
Present.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Present.
Vice Chair Moore,
Present.
Chair Ayala. Chair Ayala is absent. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to call upon our newly appointed Commissioner, Isabel, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please place your hands over your heart. Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, this section is intended to allow all officials the opportunity to reveal any disclosure regarding site visits or ex parte communications about public hearings. Are there any ex parte communications?
None?
None.
Thank you. At this time, the general public may address the Planning Commission on both non-agenda and non-public hearing agenda items. Comments related to the public hearing items will be heard during the public hearing. Please be aware that the maximum time allotted for members of the public to speak shall not exceed 3 minutes per speaker. State law prohibits the Planning Commission from taking action or entertaining extended discussion on a topic not listed on the agenda. Please show courtesy to others and direct all of your comments to the chairperson. Planning Commission Secretary, do we have any members of the public present that wish to speak today?
None.
Thank you. I will now close public comment and move on to the next item. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine. Any consent item a planning commission wishes to discuss should be designated at this time. All other items may be approved in a single motion. For consent items numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, is there a motion and a second for the approval of these consent items?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Jimenez, second by Joe. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And I'm sorry, Planning Commission Secretary, roll call vote, please. Sorry about that.
Commissioner Cervantes,
Aye.
Commissioner Flores,
Aye.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Aye.
Vice Chair Moore,
Aye.
passes 401.
Okay, so ordered. There is a 14-day appeal period for anyone wishing to appeal these matters. Item number 8, new business. Discuss conditional use permit case number 453, alcohol sales conditional use permit, case numbers 11A, and entertainment conditional use permit, case number 11. I'd like to call upon Director of Community Development, Quang Nguyen, to introduce this item.
I don't think it works. Oh, there it goes. Good evening, Commissioners. Before you today is a discussion item on entitlements related to the Santa Fe Springs swap meet, specifically conditional use permit case number 453, alcohol sales conditional use permit 11A, and entertainment conditional use permit 11. Just a overview showing the site. This is basically the swap meet location at 13963 Alondra Boulevard, adjacent to the I-5 freeway. I think it's very iconic. Most of you probably already know the location. So why we're here today? We're here today due to a shooting incident that occurred on July 21st, 2024, which happened just outside the swap meet at an adjacent parking lot, where a security personnel was involved in a fatal shooting of an armed individual. Staff has since met with the swap meet personnel on 2 separate occasions. We continue to discuss and work with the swap meet on solutions Just to know that, our goal is to ensure the safety and security of all individuals who patronize the swap meet. So we're looking at the existing entitlements as well as the safety plans that are in place today, and try to, with an effort to improve upon both the entitlements and the safety plan. The city is very committed to addressing all incidents, and this is a very important incident that occurred recently. Just really quickly, I'll go over the evolution of the swap meet. I believe the swap meet also has a presentation that will go into much greater details and probably more pictures than I have. But to begin, the swap meet was first became a swap meet. Before it was a swap meet, it was a drive-in theater, and it began in 1953. It was one of the largest drive-in movie theaters in LA County. It's my understanding that it was had a capacity of roughly 1,000 vehicles, which is quite large for a swap meet. The name La Mirada was originally selected because Santa Fe Springs wasn't even incorporated at that time, because we didn't incorporate till 1957. The name was changed in the early 1990s to Santa Fe Springs Swap Meet. Since then, if you're familiar with the swap meet, it's undergone significant transformation. In 1965, they expanded the drive-in theater operations to include a swap meet. The swap meet has continued to evolve and adapt to consumer preferences. It's expanded its offerings to allow for a diverse array of foods, entertainment, as well as services. Today, the swap meet features traditional drive-in movie theater experience several times a year. It offers both new and used goods. The used goods are mainly Tuesday through Thursday on the weekdays, and new items are offered inside the swap meet on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They also have a variety of packaged as well as prepared foods, and also an array of entertainment performances that spans across various genres. A couple of photos of what you might see out there. Specifically, the top left-hand corner is the swap meet as it occurs on the weekdays with the used goods, garage sale type setting. And then the rest of the photos are of various lots within the swap meet, offering the new items. There's an enlarged site plan showing mainly the stage, snack area, and the beer building. This is mainly where the entertainment occurs. And I'll say the photo that you see before you is actually a photo that I took yesterday. I actually went to see it for myself, and it was taken roughly at 11 a.m. Probably not during peak hour, but this is what I observed. I wanted to share that. I have a couple of videos just to kind of show you what the various entertainment looks like on Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. So starting with the Friday venue, this occurs usually during the evening hours on Friday. No sound. I was told that we may not want to hear some of the audio that occurs on this video. But for visual purposes, we just wanted really to state the facts and show what the venue looks like on Fridays. Next is a venue that occurs typically on a Saturday evening. Sorry. Go backwards. I think he's controlling it. As you can see, Saturday night, right in the
Respete, ustedes también, el público respete las instrucciones de security,
not sure.
por favor.
Full night.
Quería respeto.
And this is. I believe it's called.
Pretty packed out here, guys.
I think it's just a short clip. That kind of gives you the framing of the background of the SWAT meet. I'll also go over the various entitlements, as mentioned previously. I'll go over the CUP for the SWAT meet and drive-in theater. Dino Torres, Director of Police Services, will then go over the entertainment and alcohol sales CUP. So we'll tag team the presentation at this point. With regards to the CUP for the drive-in SWAT meet uses, the SWAT meet was initially authorized under a zone variance in 1965 through zone variance case number 39. You may or may not know, but in 1974, there was a state law that was enacted that precluded cities from granting use variances, essentially. So at that point in time, cities can no longer allow for uses that are not considered permitted in the various zones. So in February of 1989, the SWAT meet was granted a conditional use permit to allow for basically the continued operation of both the drive-in theater and SWAT meet operation on the M2 FOZ zone property. Since its approval in 1989, it has undergone 5 reviews, with the most recent review just done last year in October of 2023. At this time, I'll bring up Dino to give highlights of the entertainment and alcohol sales CUP.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm going to go over providing you some information on both the alcohol sales and the entertainment CUPs. So let's look at the first 3 bullet points there. The alcohol sales conditional use permit was approved by the City Council in 1994, and since then, the CUP has gone through several compliance reviews. The same thing for the entertainment conditional use permit, although that was in 1998, and it's since gone through several compliance reviews. And in those documents, it contains conditions that regulate both the alcohol and entertainment uses. There's 2 boxes here below. To the left is the ABC license and restrictions, and then to the right is the SWAT meet beer sales timeframes. So if we go through each one, I'll start on the left first. So the ABC Type 40 license is for beer sales only, and they can sell between 7 and 10:30 all week. No off-site consumption. 2 containers can be sold per transaction, and the maximum size is 32 ounces. And signs at all exits stating no open containers or alcoholic beverages beyond this point. Anyone selling alcohol must be at least 21 years old. So look over at the other box in the SWAT meet beer sale timeframes. Fridays from 4 to 10:30, and that's because I think the SWAT meet goes to 11, but they have to stop half an hour prior to the end of the SWAT meet. On Saturday, there's sales from 9 to 4:30. There's also sales from 6 to 10:30, but that's for special events, and I'll cover that in a subsequent slide. And then on Sunday, it's from 9 to 4:30. Oops. Okay. So in this slide, it covers the hours of operation and alcohol sales timeframes. At the top is the SWAT meet hours of operation for what happens outside the gate. So Tuesday through Thursday, they have from 7 to 2:30. They have, I think, approximately maybe 200 vendors out there outside the gates, no alcohol served. And again, it goes from 7 to 2:30. Inside the facility, the SWAT meet hours of operation are from 4 to 11 on Friday, On Saturday, they are from 7 to 5. And on Sunday, they are from 7 to 5. And then there's the admission for all the days. So $4 admission on a Friday, $2.50 on a Saturday, and on a Sunday, it's a $3 admission. To the right, again, it's the swap meet beer sales and timeframes. It's the same as the previous slide, 4 to 10:30, 9 to 4:30, 5 to 10:30 on Saturday when there's special events, and on Sunday from 9 a.m. to 4:30. Okay, this slide depicts the hours of operation, the entertainment hours, and the alcohol sales time frames. I'll go from left to right. Again, the swap meet hours of operation, 4 to 11, 7 to 5, and 7 to 5. The swap meet entertainment hours, Friday 7 to 11, Saturday 12 to 5, Saturday 5 to 11 when there's special events, and on Sunday from 12 to 5. And again, the swap meet beer sale timeframes, Friday 4 to 10:30, Saturday 9 to 4:30, Saturday 11 to 10:30 when there's special events, and Sunday 9 a.m. to 4:30. So let me go a little bit into the entertainment and the categories here. So in terms of these categories, they were defined probably decades ago. Right, Rick? A long time ago, they were defined. Yeah. So they were defined a while back, Category 1, Category 2, and a Category 3. So a Category 1 is entertainment is free to paying customers of the swap meet and incidental to the regular ongoing swap meet functions. And it's restricted to disc jockeys, talent contests, mimes, jugglers, karaoke, patron dancing, and live bands. With performers without big name recognition and without recording contracts. And level 2, entertainment is free to paying customers of the swap meet and incidental to the regular ongoing swap meet functions, including everything in category number 1. It also contains entertainment, so bands, performers, et cetera, with significant regional name recognition and or recording contracts. And then category 3, entertainment for patrons who attend the grounds specifically for the entertainment. Swap meet services may be closed during this event. Special events held from time to time as opportunities present themselves and held outside regular swap meet hours of operation with the seating plan and an admission structure based on this event. And so this form of entertainment could be in conjunction with the smaller scale swap meet function. So I think sometimes when they have these special events, they have some vending going on. So they may have, 20 to 30 vendors. When Mr. Landis comes in here, he'll be able to, comes up here, he'll be able to explain in more detail this. So they have approximately, looked at 2024, they have upwards of 120, about 127 days of entertainment, okay? And most of it is live music. So they have that, as I put up there, 7 to 11 on Friday, on a Saturday, that time frame. And about over 30 of those 127 are special events. And those occur between 5 and 11, and those are called special events. That's why in bold on Saturday, they occur only on Saturday, and the swap meet alcohol sales occur from 5 p.m. to 10:30. They also have a few other events. They have special viewing sometimes. So I looked at the schedule for 2024, and out of those 30-something special events, sometimes most of them are bands, but sometimes they have, I think this summer in June, I don't know if it was the Copa America or one of those events where they have a special viewing, and that sometimes occurs on a Wednesday or on a Sunday. But most of it's on a Saturday. So that's what happens there. Let me talk to you about the security plan and areas that could use improvement. So we've established that both permits contain conditions that regulate the uses. So that's for both CUPs. And within both permits, there's a condition that requires the swap meet to provide a security plan. So the security plan needs to address a particular condition within those permits. So up here I have an example. Let me look up here in my glasses. Yes. So, for example, we have a condition for parking lots. So if in there we have a condition for parking lots and lighting, then they have to provide us with the type of lighting. Usually it's 1-foot candle lighting. Another type of condition would be surveillance cameras, which is up there. And so we look at in terms of, is it digital, does it record, and then the locations of the camera, and that's within the plan. There's also a condition within the bulk permits that allows us to ask for an updated security plan. And what that reads is exactly like I have it up there, and I've just paraphrased it. Shall continue to maintain and when required or requested submit an updated security plan. The last time that was updated was in 2022. And so what's happened in the last couple of weeks? We met with the SWAT meet management on 2 occasions prior to August 12th, so prior to today, to discuss the operations and upcoming planning commission meeting, which is today. We've also brought on a consultant, a former police chief, to review the security plan and provide recommendations. He's still reviewing those plans and conducting some site visits. So here's some areas that we've identified that could use some improvements within the security plan. So one of them is review of existing on-site or off-site security plans. For example, parking lots, if I can use that example, is within the security plan right now, they have a total of 8 parking lots. After our discussions on those 2 meetings, it looks like they have 12 parking lots, so some updating there. Review of security protocols for entrance into the SWAT meet. So right now, there's ice chests, there's things that can go in there, items, and they're conducting searches in a certain fashion. So, review of occupancy levels. So during their largest events, it looks like they have upwards of 5,000 attendees, but again, Mr. Landis will be able to come up here and give you more details on that. And then review of alcohol sales and timeframes. So container sizes. Right now, it's a 32-ounce container. I think there's a smaller size, and we don't know the amount of alcohol that is sold, and then also the protocols. So that concludes my presentation, and I'll hand it off to Captain Reese from the Whittier Police Department.
Good evening, everyone. So you've heard a little bit about the SWAT meet, the historical perspective of where it was, what it is now today. I wanted to give you just a perspective of what we see from the police side of it as far as responding to calls for service. So recently looked at calls for service, and this was over a 3-year period of time. So the period of time that I looked at was July 2021, excuse me, to July 2024. So during that time, we've responded on approximately 700 calls for service. During that time, it's generated over 230 crime reports. So just because we respond on a call for service in an area doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to generate a crime report. So officers have to get on site, or a public safety officer has to get on site and figure out what they have. So obviously we are spending quite a bit of resources responding into the area and responding to calls for service. I can tell you the number 1 call for service right now at the SWAT meet is stolen vehicles. It appears that we have a lot of stolen vehicles being taken out of the parking lot. But the list there that you have before you is kind of some of the calls that we have responded on. It's not an exhaustive list, but those are a lot of the calls that the majority of the calls that we're responding to. Traffic collisions, most of those are hit and runs in the parking lot where someone's in the parking lot, comes back to their car, and they notice damage to their car. Thefts from vehicle, that's going to be something being stolen out of the vehicle. Petty theft could be a theft at the SWAT meet, so that could be from a vendor. It could be from a patron who's sitting at a picnic bench enjoying themselves, and they, excuse me, they look up and their purse is gone. We have had a few robberies and quite a few simple assaults, which is going to be different than an aggravated assault. A simple assault is going to be, let's say, just a fight between 2 people where there's not a significant injury. And looking at a lot of those calls for service, it appears most of them are occurring in the dance floor area, near the bathrooms. You know, it could be somebody looked at somebody wrong, they bumped into them accidentally, something happened near the bathroom. But a lot of the reports that I've reviewed, that's what that entails. An aggravated assault is going to be something more serious. So it could be somebody's knocked to the ground, somebody's now kicked in the face, they're knocked unconscious. It could be an injury that requires stitches, where they actually have to go to the hospital or seek their own care on a follow-up. So those are a lot of the calls that we're responding. It's concerning, I guess, to us from a staff perspective, because when you see some of the nights when they have events and some of the crowds, it's probably not safe just to send a single officer. So it's going to require 2 officers, 3 officers, and depending on the call, what's coming in from whoever's calling us, it could require multiple officers to respond into that location to ensure that the safety of everyone involved. So, if it's a certain day of the week and you have, let's say, 4 officers and a supervisor in Santa Fe Springs, and resources are going down to the SWAT meet, that's going to leave a lot of our staffing unavailable up in the northern part of the city. So if you're talking like the Oranday and Telegraph area, that's going to be concerning for a watch commander, patrol sergeant, who's worried about the entire city. Do we have people available for emergency calls in other parts of the city? So in a nutshell, that's kind of, I guess, our perspective is what I've looked at for the last 3 years, calls for service and the type of reports that are being taken. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Just have a few more slides just to close out the presentation. So in addition to, as Dino mentioned, having meetings with the SWAT meet and also hiring a retired police officer to assist us with reviewing the documents at hand, the city also has a subscription to an artificial intelligence program, Placer AI, just to kind of see a little bit of the background and maybe try to take a deeper dive into possibly addressing some of the issues through data. So with that, we do have, we found that the SWAT meet location generates approximately 1.5 million visitors a year to their location. The visitors to their location comes generally from surrounding cities, city of Norwalk, Whittier, Buena Park, Bellflower, and La Mirada. The average visitor stays approximately 94 minutes. Average visitor usually comes from home and goes to the SWAT meet, and immediately following goes back home. Peak hours for the SWAT meet, this is not for any one particular day, but just in general. Peak hours are roughly 1 to 2 p.m., as well as basically 9 p.m. This corresponds to essentially the entertainment that occurs on site, it seems. So lastly, just as you go into discussions, we just want to leave you with items that staff found that could use improvements. As Dino mentioned, I think the security plan certainly could use some enhancements. A review thoroughly of the parking for each event or activity, and also a review of the handicap accessibilities, and just assure that with the crowds that are there, that all the ADA requirements are met, as well as define a maximum occupancy level for the events that are occurring. We also found that there's a potential that there's a need for medical assistance, and just to make sure that there's adequate medical personnel readily available at all times, as well as lastly to update and review the traffic control plan. I think a lot of times when issues happen before and after events, as people are leaving, arguments take place, or just making sure that people leave in an orderly manner, that could help avoid quite a bit. So in closing, there are, as stated in your staff report, several potential options for you to take. First option would be to take no immediate action and just revisit the CUPs at their next compliance review dates. Second would be to direct staff to perform an in-depth review of the existing CUPs, including but not limited to the required conditions and security plan, and then return to the Planning Commission with recommendations for the enhancements of either documents. Lastly, it would be to direct staff to initiate a revocation of one or all of the CUPs associated with the swap meet operations, as well as take any additional related actions that may be desirable. So at this time, that concludes our presentation. We'd be happy to answer any questions you have. I believe the swap meet also has a presentation following any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you, Quan. Chrissy, would it be appropriate if we hear the presentation from the swap meet before we gather all questions, or could we start directing questions to staff?
That's actually up to your call. If you'd like to be able to hear their presentation before you start delving into discussions and other questions, feel free to do that.
I think if,
Unless there's like quick clarifying questions of staff that you may have, you can always entertain just a quick clarifying questions.
okay, any commissioners have quick questions, or we're going to hear the swap meet presentation first? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Chair, Chair people, Commissioners. My name is Rick Landis. I've been with this company for 53 years, and 40 of them I've spent here at Santa Fe Springs Swap Meet. So it's been a long time. So I'm up to just to provide a window of who we are and maybe elaborate on some of the things. Interestingly, Kwong's presentation is pretty much, we'll elaborate on it a little bit, but it's pretty much what's happening. 1948, 18 acres of land was purchased, and construction began on what was to be known as the La Mirada Drive-In Theater. You can see it in the bottom right-hand corner of the picture of the slide. At the time, the land consisted of a dairy and an orange orchard. The area was unincorporated and known as Dairy Valley. This was prior to the incorporation of the city of Santa Fe Springs, and thus the name La Mirada Drive-In was chosen, as that was the nearest city to our location. In 1953, the La Mirada Drive-In opened for business, and it was one of the largest drive-ins in the country with the capacity to hold over 1,000 cars. In 1965, the La Mirada Swap Meet opened for the first time. The large front lot became an ideal parking area for thousands of visitors who would eventually attend our swap meet. With the construction of the I-5 freeway, we became the ideal location between Orange County line and LA County line for the swap meet with very convenient access. In the 1990s and 2000s brought many changes. With the advent of multiplex theaters and the general decline of drive-in movie theaters and attendance, we closed the daily drive-in theater operation. We installed stadium lighting, enabling us to open up the first Los Angeles area outdoor nighttime swap meet. In the early 90s, we changed our name to Santa Fe Springs Drive-In Theater and Swap Meet to more accurately reflect the actual city we're located in. There's a story behind that, and that was done because the city was in the middle of an identity crisis. Everybody thought Santa Fe Springs was Santa Fe, New Mexico, and so the city had a huge program going on where they had bumper stickers. It was stay and play in Santa Fe Springs, shop in Santa Fe Springs, and we were part of that. And as part of that, I had some meetings with the city manager who was Don Powell at the time, and we offered to change our name, which was greatly appreciated. So we from La Mirada Swap Meet, after the city of Santa Fe Springs Incorporated, we became the Santa Fe Springs Swap Meet. And frankly, that was at no small cost. The signage, all the logos, changing our brand name after 40 years of being in business under the name of La Mirada. So there was all that, but we did it, and it turned out really great. There's still some old-timers old-time vendors that call it the La Mirada Swap Meet, but that's that's neither here nor there. We are and happy to be a Santa Fe Springs Swap Meet for many years. With the monumental changes involved in the retail markets brought on by many factors: online shopping, Amazon, eBay, big box retailers like Costco, Walmart, and Target. It became necessary to provide value-added incentives and maintain our customer base and market share. We found that live entertainment is an exceptional avenue to achieve that goal. In 2019, we invested a substantial capital, $10 million, actually in excess of that. We built a new stage, a new beer bar, a new covered seating area, and remodeled our existing snack bar. The new seating area contains TVs so customers can watch sporting events by enjoying and also enjoy the bands. And there's kind of a close-up of the remodel when we're empty. Of course, in the 70 years of continued daily operation, except for COVID, they've necessitated and brought on great evolution. We are a great benefit to the local community. We employ an average of 130 people, many of them local residents. We provide opportunities for any entrepreneur to start and operate their own business. Currently, we host over 600 independent businesses who regularly sell, and then we have over 6,000 active individual California resale permits on file, and we have a database of 80,000 vendors who have registered with us over the years. So many families depend on the swap meet for their livelihood, and a large number of them are local also. With an average of up to 1.3 million, we have 1.3 million as a value, but right there, about 1.5 million people a year, we attract and serve all kinds of people. All types. We draw a diverse audience consisting of families of all ages. We cater to children with our bouncers, our slides, our train rides. And our motto, our tagline is come for the bargains and stay for the fun, and we strive to provide that experience to everyone. Just a couple of pictures of some of the things we do. Regarding security, we follow or exceed all the security conditions in the CUPs. Uniform security is provided by a professional contractor called Men in Black, consisting of armed and unarmed guards who were vetted by the city. We have to, as part of our CUP, we have to let the city know who they are as far as the company. They consist of armed and unarmed guards. All are CPR certified, and many have other safety certificates as shown in this slide, a whole bunch of other training that they have. And so that we believe they're well trained and they do a good job. An example of the staffing post-level stations is depicted in photo A here, regular swap meets. Those are the posts for the security guards, and then they range out from there and patrol or do whatever, but those are the actual posts. Then in picture B, that's what Saturday night concerts look like and special events. We've had events where we've scheduled up to 60 extra security personnel to do that. We have the new generation of let me back up and see if I passed one. Yeah, I passed a lot. Going the wrong way. There we go. Sorry about that. This is a very important slide. I don't want to miss it. Each entrance is staffed by MIB, Men in Black, who perform bag checks, electronic wanding, and/or special clearance by state, and/or special clearances by our state-of-the-art Evolve metal detectors, which include industry-leading artificial intelligence, AI-powered weapons detection, and analytics. These are the same units used by Dodger Stadium, Angel Stadium, the Minnesota Twins, the New York Mets, and at SoFi Stadium. We have a new generation of LED stadium lighting. We've upgraded our lighting. That's what it looks like in the evening. And there's what it looks like from the ground level. It's lit up quite brightly, and it's well lit, and we leave the lights on when we have our entertainment. We leave the lights on perimeter around the stage area, so the place is always well lit. We have recently renovated and upgraded our security camera surveillance system at a cost of $250,000. It consists of 135 individual cameras, and the coverage is depicted on that attached overview. And the video of the recent incident was captured and supplied to Whittier PD by those cameras, and it was very helpful, we're told. So personally, I'm surprised by the requirement that brings us here tonight to the Planning Commission. It was a very unfortunate incident. However, our security staff and security plan worked as it should. The fact that the incident did not occur inside the swap meet proper, it happened in a parking lot, it happened on a Sunday afternoon, it happened after hours at the end of the day. Security acted properly, the individual shot in the direction of bystanders first. And so we feel that it's unfortunate, that's for sure, but we feel that we did everything the way proper and everything as over and above what our CUPs say. So we were, and it was a Sunday afternoon. It didn't have anything, these people were not inside. They'd been inside, but it didn't have anything to do with a lot of the issues we're talking about tonight. It was an outside event in a parking lot. I can't stress that too much. As mentioned in the staff report, we originally operated under a zone variance converting to CUPs in 1989, from which then to now has undergone 5 compliance reviews, by the way, with 5 different city managers. And I've been involved in all of them, including the very first one, and the subsequent entertainment and alcohol CUPs. The most recent compliance review is less than a year ago, and I was before this commission for that, and it cleared. We do everything as we're supposed to, so that's why I was surprised. The city was satisfied, and they signed off on all the conditions and made some very minor changes. As a matter of fact, they extended our overriding CUP of the drive-in theater and the swap meet. So, I'm personally kind of taken aback by some of the possible ramifications of the free staff recommendations, especially number 2, of course, to initiate the CUP revocation, and number 3 to reopen the CUPs. We've been acting along with these CUPs correctly for since their inception. So, what we'd like to propose would be this, if the commission would look at maybe doing number 1 with the caveat for us to informally meet with city officials and discuss refinement of our plans and procedures on a voluntary basis. We've already had 2 meetings. Some good ideas came out of those, and we want to do what's right. I mean, that's just common sense. So we're not, we just feel that this is pretty, on this incident and with these circumstances, we don't understand why the CUPs want to be reopened or revisited. We believe there's always room for improvement. There are always ideas, technical advancements, and innovations for improvement. We welcome and embrace these as evidenced by the purchase. We purchased an installation of these Evolve weapons detection systems. We're looking at doing the best that we can also. And the number 1, as we were suggesting, would allow us to clarify and work out some of the discrepancies within the staff report. We have issues with some of the data, and for example, would be the number of police service calls over 700 in 3 years. We can test that number and would like to dive deeper to better understand the nature and number of calls. How many of these were trespass? None of those in that. Our number 1 call is vendors selling hot dogs from carts, okay? And we call sometimes 3 or 4 times a night for that. And that is, that's not, a lot of times, that doesn't, police are busy and that's a low priority, and we understand that. The vendors will come in and block our exits and impede our traffic. And when the police come, they tell them to move. Sometimes they move, sometimes they don't. When they do move, as soon as the police leave, they come back. So we know that's an issue. We want to work with that. We've talked with Dino about it. We've talked with staff, and we're willing to do that. We don't think that that's an issue. The hot dog cart's not an issue for the CUP. It's an issue for us to clear up with on a level, a refinement level with the city and with police services. We can test that number. Well, once again, we'd like to dive deeper into that number. And also what that does is the point is that these numbers matter because as they feed into the ascertainment of the cost of the city of over $500,000. As stated in the staff report, the current revenues impact from our operations fall short of the costs incurred from police services. And specifically, they said the costs associated with maintaining public safety generally exceeds the benefits derived from the SWAT meet. It's just not true. We in our meetings with staff, the financial data is way below our numbers. In the past 3 years, our monthly vendor tax, which is $2 per space for every vendor per day we're open, that figure alone surpasses all the alleged Whittier PD call costs in the last 3 years. So once again, no problem. We just want to learn where those numbers have come from and correct those. So once again, in cooperation with city staff, we want to try to fix these things. We don't think that it rises to a full review of the CUPs on issues that weren't involved in the situation. In our meetings, hold on, I have some numbers there. Okay. Also, just last week, At one of our meetings we attended with the city, Kwong asked if we were ADA compliant, which found its way into your discussion points tonight and tonight's staff report. I know we've done ADA audits. I've been there when we've done them in the past. And the new construction of the building and all the snack bar, those permits required ADA approval. However, it's been a while, and I brought it up to our owner, and he thought it was a good idea. He approved it, and the audit has already started this week. So we can do things in cooperation with city staff, and we want to do what's right. That's the advantage to working in a fourth-generation family-owned business, that you can go to the boss and ask for something, you can get it done so fast. You know, the only holdup was assigning somebody to do it. So it was great, and that's why I've worked for them I've worked for 3 generations of the 4th-generation family, and it's been really good, and ran in a small company way where they're nimble and can respond to things that need to be done. We take our CUPs seriously, and we've adhered to all the conditions and then some. We have met or exceeded the CUP conditions as indicated, for example, there's an ABC, Alcoholic Beverage Control Report, dated July 23rd, 2 days after the incident, and it's attachment F in your files, and it's in tonight's staff report. And it says no violations, no disciplinary actions, no disciplinary history, no holds. So we think, the ABC thinks we're doing okay, we think we're doing okay, we do our best. You know, once again, things happen, and things did happen, but I think that we're doing everything we can do, and we're following our CUPs. We're here for the long run, and I'd like to conclude my presentation with a very short video filmed this past weekend in depicting what a visit to the swap meet looks like. Thank you very much for the time, and I'd like to introduce our last speaker. This is Mr. Jack Rubens, our land use attorney.
Good evening, Mr. Vice Chairperson and Commissioners. My name is Jack Rubens. I am a land use attorney with the Shepherd Mullen Law Firm in Los Angeles, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the owner of the swap meet. My presentation will be a little more from a legal standpoint. As Rick told you, the swap meet has for many decades been a good corporate citizen. It has developed and maintained a strong working relationship with the city, and it has always been responsive to the city's concerns. And it will continue to be responsive to the city's concerns. But we have to be candid and tell you that we think the staff report in this hearing reflect an overreaction from the city. The staff report includes, as you've seen, 4 potential options for the Commission's consideration, 2 of which are quite disconcerting. Option 2 requires the reopening of the CUP process with respect to all 3 existing CUPs and potentially the city unilaterally modifying those conditions. Notwithstanding that this body approved the latest compliance reviews for the 3 CUPs less than a year ago in October of 2023. And at that time, you did not change any of the conditions in any of the CUPs, except that with respect to the primary CUP, you were enthusiastic enough about what you reviewed to determine that the next compliance review for the primary CUP should be 10 years instead of the previous 5 years. But other than that, there were no revisions to any of the conditions of approval. Option 3 is even more extreme, directing staff to initiate revocation of one or all of the 3 CUPs. You might assume from your review of the staff report that the city has the unfettered right to reopen the CUP process or revoke them. But of course it doesn't. The law actually sets a high bar for doing those things. And an even higher, and a particularly high bar, I might say, to revoke an existing CUP. Basically, the city would have to demonstrate significant noncompliance with the conditions of approval and the owner's failure to correct that noncompliance after suitable warnings from the city. Here, the staff report includes no allegation of noncompliance with any of the conditions of approval or provide any other basis for options 2 or 3. It simply states them. Nor has the city ever advised our client of any non-satisfaction of conditions of approval. As Rick said, quite to the contrary, we're not aware of any violations of the conditions of approval and believe that we have been in substantial compliance with them for as long as this swap meet has been operating. And specifically, while the shooting that occurred on July 21 was tragic, we don't think that reflects a deficiency in the existing conditions of approval. We think that it demonstrates their effectiveness. First of all, the shooting did not occur inside the venue, as you heard, but it occurred outside the perimeter in a parking lot. And when an individual took a gun from his car and began shooting in the direction of bystanders, security, the on-site security force reacted quickly and effectively and ended that threat. You know, you showed a slide earlier, the AI data showing that 1.5 million people approximately attend the swap meet each year. There's not been a fatality at the swap meet for a decade. That literally means that 15 million people have come to the swap meet without an event like this occurring. That's a lot of people over a very long period of time. The staff report is troubling for 2 additional reasons. Interestingly, staff did not discuss either of these reasons during their presentation, but I think we need to address them. First, as you did see, the staff report lists 6 different items that could use improvement. I think you did see that list, actually. However, only one of those 6 items relates to the incident that occurred, the first bullet point, which relates to the security plan. Well, that's a fair topic for discussion. The other 5 really don't relate to that incident, including meeting ADA requirements and updating the traffic control plan. That review occurred less than a year ago, and those aspects of the operation were deemed to be satisfactory. Finally, and Rick did make a brief mention of this, and surprisingly, the staff report discusses the swap meet's financial impact, the financial impact on the city, and claims that I'll quote this, "On a purely financial basis, the costs associated with maintaining public safety generally exceeds the city's benefits derived from the swap meet." We believe that is demonstrably untrue for several reasons. First, the city's claim that its police and fire service calls cost the city approximately $650,000 over a 3-year period presupposes that without the operation of the swap meet, the city would not incur this cost. But that is not true, or at least no evidence was presented that is true. There is no evidence the city would substantially reduce its police and fire personnel if the swap meet did not operate. There was no evidence given that any decrease in personnel would be necessary or advisable if the swap meet was not operating. So we don't think this is a cost issue. It may be an issue about deploying, how personnel is deployed, but it really isn't a cost issue. Second, and in any event, the swap meet believes that the estimated cost of $650,000 for that 3-year period significantly exceeds the actual value of services provided by the city's personnel. And it's prepared to demonstrate that with expert assistance if necessary. Third, the swap meet strongly believes that the aggregate taxes the city collects with respect to the swap meet operation significantly exceed the claimed cost to provide police and fire services. And it is prepared to demonstrate that too, if necessary. Fourth, whatever the correct amounts are, nothing has changed since the commission completed its compliance reviews just a few months ago. Why is this an issue now, given that it was not an issue then? Our client is frankly confused as to why this issue has been raised at all. So having said all this, what we want to emphasize in closing is that the swap meet will continue to be a good corporate citizen and will continue to work with the city to address any reasonable concern that it has. So as Rick said, we request that the commission determine, consistent with option 1, that it is unnecessary and inappropriate to reopen the CUP process, and certainly inappropriate to even discuss the revocation of the CUPs. But consistent with option 4, the swap meet remains open to meeting informally with the city and perhaps with some of you to discuss the city's concerns and determine whether refinements of the conditions of approval on a voluntary basis would be appropriate here. We look forward to that discussion and hope that that's the path you will proceed down. Thank you.
Okay. Do any of the commissioners have any questions, either for the applicant or for staff?
Vice Chair Morrow?
I'm sorry?
I'm going to suggest that maybe see if there's anybody from the public who wants to speak, get them out of the way, and then really delve into the topic at hand.
Are there any members of the audience that wish to speak on this matter? Madam Secretary?
None.
Thank you. Okay. And now we'll move on to any questions by the Planning Commission for the applicant or for staff.
This is for staff. Have we verified the cost of service that the city's paid out over the 3 years? And have we generated some type of, what's the tax revenue that's coming in compared that's going out? Have you guys done a cost analysis on that?
So it's 2 parts. On the calls, we have an approximate number, and that's what we gave you for public safety. So that includes code enforcement, public safety officers, Whittier PD.
And do we have tax revenue?
We did do some tax revenue analysis. It does generate, I believe, roughly $150,000 a year. So I think the numbers and the comparison was based on that. But know that that's sales tax, and that doesn't include, I guess, admissions and a cut of the admissions. I understand we also get some revenue from that as well. But I think what in addition to what Dino said in regards to police service calls, there were, based on the fact that the revenues don't offset the cost, it's also based on fire department calls. And so there were also a number of fire department related calls as well.
And this is your police department. Out of the 230 crime reports, how many of those crime reports were violent crimes? Oh, sorry.
So the FBI defines violent crime as murder, rape, aggravated assault. So and robbery. So over that period of time, aggravated assault, approximately 7 calls for service, robbery 6. Rape, there was 1 call, and we had the 1 murder. It's classified as a murder, I mean, when you take a life with the shooting. So that's still, that investigation is with the DA's office.
Captain, over what period of time were those?
That was over a 3-year period.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the swap meet business. So when you guys, this is for Mr. Landis. When you guys say that you guys meet the minimum criteria and exceed as far as your security plan, your conditional use permit, do you guys use some type of benchmarking against other businesses that compared to yours? And, or do you guys just say, well, it's, this CUP was created so long ago? Do you compare it to that, or do you benchmark it against a similar business?
That's a great question. We I was comparing it to our CUPs. We perform in excess of whatever our CUP says. We want to have a safe number of we want to keep the place as safe as we can. We score. We use the numbers in the CUP, like for instance security, as a minimum. And we go beyond that. And frankly, I've been president of the. There's a California. There's 2 trade associations. The California Swap Meet Association. I've been president of that. There's a National Flea Market Association that represents the whole country. I've been president of that, and I'm currently chairman of the board. And there are some very big and large swap meets across the flea markets, they call them, anywhere outside of California practically. But they are they're all over the country, and I think we're one of the best run ones there. And I don't benchmark against them. I don't know what they do individually for security, but in talking with the owners and thing with the owners, I think that we I believe from my own, not benchmarking on paper, but I believe from all my own experience, we're head and shoulders above everybody. Everybody, but maybe a couple percent. There's a couple real big ones in Texas that have like their own police department, their own medical center there, all kinds of stuff. But other than that, we're right there. Yep.
I have a question. The properties that for the parking lots, are those part of the swap meet, or are they private that are used after hours?
Well, both. We have parking in the front of the swap meet and parking that we've tied up for a number of years in the back under contract, under license. That's, I don't have the number right in front of me, but that's a majority of our parking. Then we do month-to-month leases and some even week-to-week leases with other parking lots throughout the area. And those are for when the businesses are generally closed. We don't need it when the businesses are open. We really only need it Friday nights and Sundays. And we'll use all of our on-site special event parking can be held, all of our on-site special events can be held with on-site special event permanent parking that we control.
And the security is there when you use the leased ones?
Yeah, every parking lot is staffed by an attendant, and then we have a roving people that monitor that, and then our security is available. Our security was out there during that incident Saturday. They were in that lot. So they have posts, but they roam.
Thank you.
So my concerns were already answered.
Then you may have mentioned this, probably just wasn't paying too much attention, but service calls regarding intoxication or alcohol-related occurrences in the past 3 years?
So we have a list, a variety of calls, but we haven't narrowed down that portion. So we'd have to add those up. We had to put these together fairly quickly. We ran the calls for service for the location. We ran the calls for service for the 8 parking lots that we know. And so, you know, it's kind of hard to compare this because there's not another entertainment venue like this around, right? So there's another swap meet. I think the nearest one is Paramount, but it's smaller scale.
Thank you. Right. Any other questions? All right, well, so, you know, obviously the public safety, this is probably what sparked the whole thing of us getting here together. And I don't doubt that the swap meet is, you know, is not obviously concerned with this because they got like so many people that are, you know, that come into their place. I've been there a couple of times to the concerts for the food, and yeah, there's the families that attend there. But, you know, we've got to make sure that, you know, it is safe for everybody. I also appreciate the fact that, you know, the swap meet, you know, you guys want to, you know, voluntarily have a sit down with staff in the city. And we do have a few conflicting numbers between your company and what we have over at as far as our staff. And I would like to do a sit down and then hash these things out. And so we'd have, you know, the safest swap meet possible. But I'm glad you're here, you know, because I know that it is a concern for all of us. And, you know, one death, regardless of the details of the death, it is somebody died. And that's also a potential for innocent people dying as well. The fact that it happened in the parking lot, you know, it's still, you know, a part of the swap meet. So we'd like to, you know, I would propose having a sit down with staff and swap meet personnel, and as well as, you know, with the attorney. Then I know that we're going to be doing our own investigations and a review of the policies, and, you know, come together and meet and you know, work on this one in a collaborative effort. Any other comments from anybody? Please.
I'd just like to say a few things for the record. For me, this is very concerning, kind of the numbers of revenue generated compared to calls for service, not accounting for the fire department. Not only that, it takes services away from our very small community. We have a community of about 18,000 residents, 18,500. 1.5, that's telling me that people from other regions or jurisdictions are coming to the swap meet, and it's not necessarily Santa Fe Springs. So our services are getting compromised while people are profiting. And I know it's entertainment, and I know things happen. But I was also concerned by your comment saying, well, things happened. We don't know why these issues are being raised. Somebody died in our city. We don't take that lightly. And last time there was a death at the swap meet was also in the parking lot. For me, that's a vulnerability. We're saying we're top-notch as far as security plans. I see vulnerabilities. Also from these videos I saw, it seemed very congested. If somebody snuck a weapon in and they're in the middle of that, it seemed like it would be hard for a call for service for security to get through there. I didn't see ADA transition plans, path to travel, and it was very congested. I don't know what, you know, the assembly is. You know, I don't know what the square footage, the assembly requirements, but it looked like if something did happen, emergency service would be, there'd be several impediments to respond. So, thank you.
So, could we see the 3 or the 4 different?
First page.
Have them, yeah, they're all right there, okay. Yeah. It's better on the screen though, so everyone can see it. Quan had it.
It's page one of the staff.
Yeah, we have it, but I'm just saying, it was up earlier. There it is.
I just wanted to say that it's very unfortunate that someone did die, and it is something that we take seriously. But we also have to consider the impact this will have if we take a direct action against the swap meet, of how it will affect the people who actually survive on a second and third business via the swap meet to make their payments for their homes, to put food on the table. So a drastic measurement right now would hurt our community more than it would help our community. And it is unfortunate we lost someone, but we have to take that into consideration too. How much will we hurt our community with this actions, severe actions?
My suggestion is I think we need to improve security plan and work out discrepancies with city staff. I mean, that's what I think.
Yeah, we offer that. I think that's always, there's room to get more people to look at things and ideas. And as long as we're doing that cooperatively, that's really good.
Yeah, I mean, we just approved your CUP, 8 months ago or something? So I think it's fair to you as a business owner to, try to work something out, improve a security plan, and work out the discrepancies.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You're right, you're correct. And there's things that we do since our last compliance review. We've added those Evolve machines. They came out, they showed them to us, they demonstrated them, and we put them on. And so maybe if there's something, maybe it's communication with police services of what we're doing or what we've done with the city, the things we're adding on that we'll add on things before the next review, I'm sure. And we staff the security people based on the attendance that we believe we're going to get to all the events. Everything's taken independently of each other individually. But thank you, good point.
Well, I agree with Commissioner Jimenez. With all commissioners, because, we're talking about a death here, and I'm glad that we're coming together to hopefully prevent this. I know sometimes it's kind of tough to, know about human nature, but the thing is, we don't want to see this again. And part of the condition could be, they're talking about the fire department that has also come out. And I don't know, Rick, if you guys have like in-house EMTs or contracted ambulance company that may be there, so we don't need fire to come out. And of course, hopefully we'll talk about increased security, particularly in the parking lots. And but I think time for a sit down with our staff and our police review board as soon as possible would probably be appropriate.
I guess there's potentially two ways of handling a in-depth review and update a security plan. I think as recommended here is option number 2 is actually to do that, but return to the Planning Commission and provide recommendations for its enhancements. But I think the SWAT meet is also asking for you to do that, but through an administrative process, since the compliance review happened less than a year ago. So I think that is possibly on the table as option number 4.
So let's take such additional related action that may be desirable.
Chair, if I may, if you are if you go the route that you're leaning to, you can always ask staff to then report back as to what they've all agreed to, without you having to actually to weigh in on the recommendations that the staff and the swap meet have agreed to in connection with the update.
Good.
Some of the concerns I still have is, and I appreciate everybody's comments from our commissioners and from all sides. I just, we're putting profit in front of public safety. Our services with our small community are being compromised, and this is a net loss financially. So we're supporting business owners, yes, that aren't from our community. I think our priority should be public safety without compromising all these calls for service. If we have 700 calls for service and they're for hot dog vendors that are blocking the driveway, that's a security problem, in my opinion, with the swap meet security. They should be ushering these people out of there before we even get these calls for service. I think it's burdensome that our police department has to go usher hot dog vendors and people blocking traffic. I just think it's burdensome on our public safety.
Thank you, Commissioner Flores. I've had a lot of conversations with Dino, and we've worked together on these. These hot dog vendors come out and they go around our exit. They come on our private property. I've gone out and I submitted forms for trespassing that we're willing to citizen arrest these people, and they still come onto our property. We call Whittier PD, and maybe we can get some clarification. But a lot of times they don't come out. When they do come out, they'll move the vendors. The vendors come back, and the vendors on my private property, I'm willing to arrest them. I put it on file. I've had them notarized. I've dropped them off at Whittier PD and at Santa Fe Springs Police Service Center, and we're willing to do that. That's a big problem. It's a big issue, and so I think that's part of an answer to what you said. The other thing is that the numbers that were mentioned, we've really got to look at those numbers, because we give more just in our $2 per vendor per day fee more than those numbers of the police department. We on an annual basis. So I think that is somewhere there's a disconnect with those numbers, and I'm not blaming anybody. We'd be happy to go over those and forensically. I mean, we've got the records. We pay the taxes. Thank you, though.
Question, so are we hiring more policing to cover the Santa Fe Springs swap meet, or is it just the policing that we're hiring for our city?
So we have vendors that are there because of the swap meet use. And we've tried putting out staff, so public safety officers, code enforcement on overtime to be there. We have a small staff, right? We have 3 code enforcement inspectors, and that's just recent. Right now I have 1, which is a supervisor, which is Kristen right now, right? PSOs, we're also limited too, mostly part-time staff, a few full-timers there. Whittier PD has the resources that they have out there, and so when there's a call that comes in, they have to go there, right? So it's an issue that happens every weekend. Okay, there's always vendors there. We have to comply with the health code, health department. And so I don't see this issue going away. We don't have the resources to be there every day.
As far as vendors, yeah, we do receive calls, but that's going to be more probably appropriate for the health department to come out and address. First of all, there's no prosecution for vending, illegal vending in LA County. Let's just get that out of the way right now. There's a lot of crimes on the books that just aren't enforced, and prosecuting vendors is not a priority in Los Angeles County, as well as some of the other crimes. So as far as to the point, they're saying that they call the police department. No call's too small. We roll on all calls. It may take us a while to get there because everything is prioritized, just like an emergency room. If someone's having a heart attack, they're going to get first priority versus somebody that has, is there for a cough. So I understand their frustration with vendors, but, we do respond on those calls and along with the public safety officers, the Santa Fe Springs PSOs. So just want to clear that up.
So this goes to the swap meet. Do you have to call the police about these vendors?
Many times, the security officers that we have handle these issues. There are a lot of issues that we handle internally. I was going to ask too, if we get into this, is how many of those calls were customer generated or vendor generated or citizen generated. Sometimes we don't know the fire department's coming until we hear the engines. Fortunately, the fire department's very nearby. And they get there in a matter of minutes, and so there's a lot of times that we don't. That a customer will call without our knowledge. And the calls that we generate, yes, we go out and try to, on all things, on many of them we take care of internally and they don't generate calls.
I just got one final thought. And I know we need businesses, and I know swap meet services kind of a community that probably is not wealthy. So I do appreciate that, and I do want to balance the equities of the business community as long as our residents here in Santa Fe Springs. And I think the attorney said, that they'd be willing to operate in good faith. I'd rather hear from a third party, somebody that specializes in this. I don't know the first thing about swap meet and security plans. So to sit down with you guys are going to present your argument. I think this should be done by a third party, and I think some of these security plans and compliance review may be a little antiquated. I haven't really looked at them in depth. But I just think it would be fair for us as citizens to have it done by a third party.
Thank you, Commissioner. Our understanding is, well, we know for sure that on our part, we have hired an expert already to assist on this issue. And I believe you heard from your staff earlier that the city likewise has hired a former police chief as an expert. So I think both sides have experts who can participate in these informal discussions.
I said, is there a reason why they're not here? Presenting for such a...
So he was unable to be here. So we hired Jorge Cisneros, and he's a former police chief in several locations. He was in Huntington Park. The latest, he was in Anaheim. So he was unable to be here, but also he needs to visit the site more than once. He visited the site last week in the daytime. He's reviewing the documents, but we need to go out there and see what's actually happening in the evening.
And from the swap meet side of the story, we hired Jerry Reyes. He's recently retired, I think 1 month or so, recently retired lieutenant with Whittier PD. He's worked the site years ago when we actually had part of our CUP back years ago was that we'd have Whittier PD officers on overtime in uniform working on our property, and they would go out and handle situations that were beyond or that needed help from our existing security and didn't rise to the level to call Whittier PD, or he decided to call Whittier PD. And so that went away a few years ago at the city's request as far as staffing levels. And they told us, we filled that in with Men in Black, with the security company I just talked about. But when we heard Jerry retired, we put him on, and now he's been helping us to a great degree from a what we've considered an expert standpoint from police department, from his history. And I don't know if you have any questions for Jerry, but he's here.
I got another question. So if we do decide to make improvements to the security plan, work out discrepancies, are we able to come back to this if it doesn't work out?
Okay, so within I think I mentioned this, within both permits, it allows the city, the Director of Police Services, to come back and ask for refinements or updates to the security plan. So there's a condition in both CUPs that allows us to do that.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
That was my question. Can we ask that the city work with the swap meet and see how we can strengthen the security. So a combination of maybe 1 and 4. That way we don't take an action right now, severe action right now that could be detrimental to the city, to the residents, everyone else.
I think that's consistent with what the SWAT meet was requesting, is basically to allow staff to administratively review the security plan and handle it with the third-party experts. And we can also report back to you, as Christy mentioned, of the results. Just, I want to point out, though, in what we're doing is we're updating the security plan. In that instance, we are not allowed to amend the CUP or the conditions, because that would require us to go back to you before the Planning Commission to change any of the existing conditions. This is simply for the security plan.
I think the problem is security. Like you were saying, that all the other stuff that's involved, it doesn't really relate to anything out of compliance. It's more of a security issue than anything.
I think that's right, Commissioner. I would just say I've had any number of matters I've worked on where the applicant or the operator here has voluntarily agreed to modifications to the conditions of approval. There is a condition of approval to have a security plan. So if the security plan is being modified, we just prefer it to be on a voluntary, good faith basis with both parties meeting and not with any heavy-handed action hanging over the proceedings.
Okay. So I guess we could be like a combination of number 4, if we get staff and our experts to meet and report back. And do we have a motion? Unless there are any other comments. Okay. Could I get a motion?
I'll motion that we work with the city and the staff at SWAT meet to enhance security and report back.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Madam Secretary, roll call, please. Oh,
As far as this list, 1 through 4. We're voting for something from this list, or?
You have every right to take other action as appropriate, which is what the motion is. So you don't have to follow to the letter. You can come up with your own recommendation, which is what the Commissioner Cervantes has done. Does that make sense? You don't have to say, I'm going to do 1, I'm going to do 4, I'm going to do. You can say, I don't like any of them. Here's my recommendation. You have every right to do that.
And that's when we're voting, we could say that. No?
so we're basically having city staff and SWAT meet staff come together collaboratively, work on a, I guess, refined security plan, and then come back and report to us.
Yeah, 'cause, along with the security plan, I also see, my concern for congestion also inside, not just outside. It's like ADA. I mean, there's a number of things. I haven't looked at this. I read the staff report. I haven't looked at it in depth. So is it just the security plan, or is it full compliance within today's standards?
In the security plan, some of the conditions, so there's that condition that talks about having a security plan, then there's elements under that. It does talk about that. It talks about, adequate parking, egress, ingress. It talks about that. And so, so it is in there, and we can have those discussions.
So I second.
We got a motion and a second. And roll call, please.
Commissioner Cervantes?
Aye.
Commissioner Flores?
Can I vote with the stipulation?
Well, you either vote Yes, no? Abstain? You can say, comment why you're voting the way you're voting if you'd like, if that's what you're trying to say. It's not, you can't say, I'm voting this way only if, you have to pick one.
Okay, I'm going to vote nay for the reason there's not enough information, and I don't think it's sufficient just looking at security.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Aye.
Vice Chair Mora,
Aye.
passes 3-1-1.
Okay, thank you. We're moving on to item number 9. Conditional use permit, case number 847, to allow a food processing facility at 13181 Flores Street within the M2 zone and adopt a notice of exemption under CEQA. I'd like to call upon Associate Planner Jimmy Wong to introduce this item.
Good evening, Commissioner. Sorry, let's see. Ooh. Vibrate. All right. So item number 9 is conditional use permit, case number 847. The location of the project is at 13181 Flores Street. The owner is Won Shin, and the applicant is Sam NS Group. And the zoning for the property is M2 heavy manufacturing, and the land use is industrial. Let's see. So I would like to give a little background and timeline of the item. The project was duly noticed for the June 10th, 2024 Plan Commission meeting. Staff received a comment letter on June 9th, 2024. Due to insufficient time, staff have requested to continue the item, and the Planning Commission have voted to continue the item to July 15. At the July 15, 2024 meeting, staff request once again to continue the item due to the fact that there are some disagreement between the applicant and the association. So Planning Commission have voted to continue the item to August 12, 2024, which is today's meeting. Okay. Shoot. And in July 31st, 2024, staff have received a letter from the association stating that they will approve the proposed conditional use permit with the 2 added condition, only if the 2 added conditions is added to the conditional approval. The applicant has notified the staff that they do not wish to add those 2 conditions. In addition to that, staff had reviewed the 2 conditions and find that is not legally enforceable since conditional use permits run with the land and not with the applicant. So now I'm going to go over the conditional use permit case number 847. The proposed conditional use permit is to allow for a food processing facility that includes fish and meat at 13181 Flores Street within the M2 heavy manufacturing zone. Let's see, sorry. In accordance to section 155.243D5 of the zoning code, any food processing facility that includes fish and meat will require conditional use permit. So here's a little background of the applicant. Sam NS Group is a food processing company that mainly focuses on Korean food. The proposed use will produce a pre-packaged food and meat for various restaurants and wholesaler like Trader Joe, Costco, Sam's Club, and H Mart, and similar grocery store. The president of the company has involved in the restaurant operation since 2008, and they own multiple restaurants within LA, Los Angeles. Here's the proposed business plan for this facility itself. The proposed food processing facility aims to produce ready-to-eat frozen food on a daily basis. Shipment will be arrived daily with delivery made using refrigerated and freezer-equipped truck. And the proposed operation will be from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. with 6 to 12 employees. The operation will hereby to the National Sanitation Federation safety standard, and finished product will be stored in the refrigerator until shipment with daily cleaning and sanitation. Here's some example of what will be produced in this location. It involve Korean sausage and also raw meat that will be cut to be ready to use. It should be noted there will be no use of vinegar and there is no butchering of whole animal. Here's the existing site plan. There will be no change to the square footage of the building. There are 18 parking stalls on site with 2 gray loading door and 1 separate trash enclosure. The property is required to have 17 parking stalls. The existing parking exceed and meet the minimum requirement of parking. In addition, the applicant is proposing to provide tenant improvement that will include a new freezer and cooler, new coke line, a new packaging area, preparation area, and processing area. In addition to that, the applicant will be providing any type of improvement that's required by the fire department, building department, and the health department. Sorry, I don't know why I keep skipping through it. The proposed amendment will is exempt from the CEQA pursuant to section 15301, class 1 existing facility. The amendment does not involve any type of structural or modification of the existing site. A public hearing notice was posted on May 30th, 2024 in the City Hall, Town Center kiosk, and the library, and it was mailed to a 500 feet radius on the same day. Yeah, so staff received 3 comment letters. The first one was on June 9th, 2024, was from the neighboring property opposing the proposed conditional use permit. Additionally, staff also received a letter from the association from on June 26, 2024, also opposed to the proposed use. And on July 31st, 2024, staff received an additional letter from the association saying that they agree to approve the conditional use permit with the 2 added conditions, which the applicant have declined, and it was noted that is not legally enforceable. So I'm going to go over some of the concern that the 2 opposition letters have summarized. The first one is that the proposed food processing facility is prone to danger, bacteria, odor, noise, fire hazard, explosive, and hazardous chemical. To summarize, the applicant will be hereby to all health and safety provision and also daily cleanliness to the facility to control any bacteria. Also, the applicant is proposing to install any type of ventilation for any odor control. There are no operation in this location that's being proposed that will exceed the minimum, the maximum noise allowed in the industrial area. Lastly, the applicant is required to hereby all fire department requirements and minimize any fire hazard and explosive. And there is no hazardous chemical being proposed in this location. So the second concern is that the proposed use will increase parking demand, which will impact the neighboring property. As stated earlier, the proposed use is required to have 17 parking stalls, and the existing site plan provide 18. In addition, the maximum staff will be in this location is 12 employees, so there should be more than enough parking for the proposed use. The last concern is regarding the association on the CCNR and also a covenant agreement. The first part is that the food processing involving meat and fish process does not comply with the CCNR. According to section 2.02 of the covenant of the CCNR, state that the use is allowed, any use within the zoning code is allowed within the association, and food processing, including fish and meat, is permitted in the M2 zone with a valid conditional use permit. The second concern is that the covenant with the LA County Regional Water Quality Control Board state that there should be no food and meat processing use in this location. If you look at attachment 6, the applicant has get clarification from the board that food processing, including fish and meat, is not prohibited in this within the covenant. And lastly, the last concern is that the covenant also states there should not be any type of use other than light manufacturing in this location. It should be noted that there are other food processing used in this association in addition to manufacturing of metal product and metal fabrication. All three of those use are considered heavy manufacturing and are permitted in this location or in this association. So for your consideration, a food processing facility including fish and meat processing with a granted conditional use permit is aligned with the current zone and land use. Concern regarding food handling, odor, and address are addressed by all the requirement from the state and the fire department. And proper ventilation will be installed as part of the tenant improvement. And lastly, the proposed project will only involve an interior remodel and will not increase any square footage of the existing building. So staff is recommending approving CUP case number 847, subject to the condition as stated in the attached resolution, and adopt resolution number 265-2024, which incorporates the Planning Commission finding and action regarding this matter. That concludes my presentation. I do have the applicant here and the owner to answer any question as well.
Jamie. Do any of the commissioners have any questions on this item for planning staff? I just got one. The processing, does that include any cooking of the food or is it just packaging?
There are cooking involved in this. Yeah, and along with packaging, so both.
Thank you. Okay. Do the applicants wish to speak on this matter?
My name is Susan. I've been in the restaurant business along with my husband, Sam. The company's name is Sam and S for Sam and Susan. We've been running Korean restaurants generally, and we've been doing this for 20 years in Los Angeles, K-Town, and some of the locations are also in the county of LA and also one in Orange County as well. So we are completely aware of all the health risks and community, like what it could generate to the community. And you know, during pandemic era, we also learned quite a bit how essential the food industry is to our daily life. So we're completely aware of how important it is and how the safety of the community is also very important. So we will do whatever it takes to keep the facility, the city, the neighbors all like clean and follow the rules, basically. Yeah, we're gonna incorporate also the HACCP system, so make sure there's no hazard at all, which can lead into the food consumption or anything that could cause any danger to people. And also, because we are aware how important it is to the community as well, and we would really like to grow with the city of Santa Fe Springs. I think that's it. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Thank you. Any commissioners have any questions? Oh, sorry.
This small facility that we're trying to make the food processing location will be inspected every single day with the USDA inspectors on the site, which means it's not a health inspector from the city just coming every 3 or 6 months. We need to have their approval of starting working with our facility. If say 8 o'clock, they have to approve, okay, start working from the USDA Department of Inspectors on site every day. So which means we have to be really, have to care about and follow the hazard, analysis, rules, from the federal law and from the city, the health. So everything has to be approved first from the city, and second from the health department, and third on the USDA department officer. So that's how the USDA facility is going on. And the reason we put the fish on the product item is we don't do any flats and any cleaning fishes on the site. What we do is we have another restaurant operating in Los Angeles and Atlanta, Georgia. It's a spicy seafood noodle restaurant. It has a lot of cleaned and pre-steamed seafood items on a box from Korea or from China that we have to keep in our storage. And I asked Mr. Wong, we have to keep like this kind of fish items on the storage. What we have to do then, thank you, Mr. Wong. He helped me a lot. I really, respect him, So we have to add the fish on the, the item that we're getting on the CUP. But it doesn't mean, I can put in a condition, if it's required, but, we're not doing any fillets, any, fishy smells on the areas. That's what I want to tell you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was one of my concerns is if it was going to be smelling or from cutting. So everything's boxed and frozen on the seafood?
We're going to supply all the restaurants that I want, yes.
Okay, great.
We don't defrost anything else.
Great.
Anybody else? Okay. Public hearing is now open at 7:52. Is there anyone from the audience wishing to speak on this matter? Please step forward. Madam
Yes,
Secretary?
Yes, Vice Chair. We have Cindy Duff.
Okay. Please state your name and city of residence for the record.
Good evening, Commissioner, and thank you for your time. My name is Cindy Doff, and I'm the MAR manager with MAR West Commercial that manages the association. I'm a resident of the city of Laguna Niguel. When we first were made aware of the proposed CUP, that was only because an owner had brought it to our attention. As a result of the process in which the compliance needs to go out, it goes out to business owners that are within 500 feet, but it doesn't take into consideration notifying the property management company for an association which are in use with the use restrictions. I don't know if there's a way to close that loop. So we came in initially not having any of the information and the background. So that's why initially we had declined approving the applicant's information because we had no information. So that's how that came about. We appreciate the Commission's ability, willingness to continue it until we were able to have those conversations and then go through the proper procedures that we need to do with the Board of Directors for the association. So the two conditions that we had put up there that we had requested to do so was have already been discussed, and this is due to the restrictions imposed by the California Regional Water Quality Control Board for Los Angeles, the California Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment, Occupational Safety, and Health Administration. And it's not for the businesses in general, it is actually because this property in particular, we have ongoing mitigating circumstances that we have to maintain for methane and groundwater testing. So that was the reason it came up, because there's food, and this is actually going to be ultimately for human consumption with the food, and that is the reason why we had originally had those concerns. From what we understand with the applicant, that they are going to be it will be frozen foods, that there's not going to be a processing or utilizing of the water, or that there won't be any runoff into the groundwater table, and that then, so that's the reason why we wanted to put it in there, that if there is a change in use other than the applicant, then the applicant may look to purchase the building. So we're saying whether it be with this lease term or becomes owner, that it stays the same. But if it were to come back to, and this is the reason we're putting in the condition is because it does run with the land, not with the business owner, is that it does come back to the commission to ensure that there isn't any violation with the CCNRs and the governing agencies that we are required to comply with. So thank you for your time.
Secretary, any other speakers? Okay, please state your name and city of residence for the record.
My name is Caitlin Jung. I live in La Habra, California. I'm the eldest daughter of Sungwoon, Sam Jung, and Sue Jang. I stand before you today not only as their daughter, but as a witness to the extraordinary journey they have undertaken. My parents came to this country with little more than a dream and the determination to provide a better life for their family. They started with a small business, and through relentless hard work and successful restaurants, they have built it into what could be a flourishing warehouse. Sorry. This license is not just a step forward for our business, but as an opportunity for this community. We believe that by growing our family business in the city, our business can be seen as a testament of the American dream for fellow Asian Americans. And where else is better to set that example other than Santa Fe Springs? We kindly ask for your support in granting the CUP so that our family can contribute positively to this community while conducting business ethically and cleanly, just as my father, who is known for being one of the most meticulous and passionate business owners, has always strived to do. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers?
None.
Thank you. Seeing no other speakers, we're closing the public hearing at 7:56. Now is the time for deliberation by the commissioners. Are there any questions or any items for discussion on this topic?
I do have one. Since we did have a couple of, do we have any record of any violations from their other businesses or non-CEQA compliance?
The other business mostly in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Restaurant. We have not checked if they have
Okay,
any
so there's no reports, and the CUP would comply with CEQA standards, correct?
Yes. That's
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to adopt resolution numbers 265-2024, which incorporates the Planning Commission's decision and actions regarding this matter? Do we have a motion?
I'll move.
Okay, we got a motion and a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, Planning Commission Secretary, roll call, please. Roll call vote, sorry.
Commissioner Cervantes?
Aye.
Commissioner Flores?
Aye.
Commissioner Jimenez?
Aye.
Vice Chair Moore?
Aye.
Passes 401.
Okay. Gavel. So ordered. There's a 14-day appeal period for anyone wishing to appeal this matter. Item number 10, a zoning code amendment to amend the R3 and R4 multiple family residential zone districts and the MU, MUDT, and MUDOT mixed-use zone districts in the land use chapter of the Santa Fe Springs Municipal Code, and determine that the action is exempt under CEQA. I now call upon planning consultant Laura Weimer to introduce this item.
Good evening, Commissioners. The item before you tonight was continued from the July 15th Planning Commission hearing. The item before you tonight is a zoning code amendment pertaining to adding some additional text into the zoning code related to the general plan. So the general plan that was adopted a couple years ago added a new mixed use and high density residential land use designations in order to have the, and that also included a housing element, the 2021-2029 housing element, Within the housing element, Program 11 required zoning code revisions to bring the zoning code into conformance with the new land use designations within the general plan. We did bring before you a targeted zoning code update in August of 2023, and at that time we included several provisions pertaining to the mixed use new land use zones and the high density residential zones. However, the California Department of Housing and Community Development, or HCD, which is the department that is responsible for certifying housing elements, reviewed all of our zoning code amendments and determined that they wanted additional text added to fully satisfy the requirements of Program 11, which was the zoning code revisions. So the request before you tonight is to add 2 notes, or rather 4 notes, to the use tables within the mixed use zones and the high density residential zones. Specifically, they want the city to include a note that requires a compliance with California Government Code sections 65583.2 H and I. The city would need to comply with these anyways because they are state law. However, HCD wanted them added to the code to make sure that these requirements weren't overlooked. Specifically, these sections say that if a project is in a proposed housing element site, and if 20% of the units proposed on that site are for low income, that project needs to be processed ministerially. It also says that if projects on lower income, or within the housing element, if there's a project proposed on a housing element site, that it needs to have a minimum density of 20 dwelling units per acre. So that's why this specifically pertains to the mixed use zone, because that has a higher development density, and the high density residential zones. This request complies with 3 of the goals within the general plan, all pertaining to housing and lowering the governmental constraints to housing. This request is exempt from CEQA according to section 15061B3. This is the common sense exemption that states that the project will not have a significant effect on the environment. This project, again, was continued from the July 15th Planning Commission meeting, but it was properly noticed on July 3rd and July 5th with placements in the Los Cerritos community newspaper and posting throughout the city. So the recommendation before you tonight is to continue the public hearing that was opened on July 15th, to find and determine that the project is exempt from CEQA, to find and determine that the project is consistent with the general plan, to adopt resolution number 270-2024 and recommend that the City Council approve and adopt an ordinance to implement or to codify these changes, and to take any additional related actions as may be desired. And that concludes my presentation.
Let me just add a couple of notes to Laurel's presentation. Thank you, Laurel. You'll notice in her presentation that, the housing element that we're trying to get certified is a 2021 to 2029 housing element. So we're several years behind schedule. So just a little bit of background. We've gone through 6 reviews with HCD, and the last review we received a conditional approval. The changes before you tonight is essentially the conditions of that approval. So once we make these changes and amend our code, we should have a certified housing element. So just wanted to close with that. Thank you, Laurel.
Thank you both. Do the commissioners have any questions on this item for planning staff? Good. Yeah, no.
This common sense exemption, it just seems weird every time I see it. Like, common sense to who? Yes. Broadly, anyways.
Yeah, I know. All right. Well, public hearing on this item is now open at 8:04. Madam Secretary, is there anybody in the audience wishing to speak on this matter?
None.
Okay. Seeing no speakers, we're going to close public hearing at 8:04. Now's the time for the deliberation of the commissioners. And do we have any questions or discussion on this topic? I see none. Okay. Is there a motion to adopt resolution numbers 270-2024, which incorporates the Planning Commission's findings and actions regarding this matter?
I'll move.
Thank you. Got a motion?
I'll second.
Second. Planning Commission Secretary, roll call, please. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Cervantes?
Aye.
Commissioner Flores?
Aye.
Commissioner Jimenez?
Aye.
Vice Chair Moore?
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
Thank you. So ordered. There's a 14-day appeal period for anyone wishing to appeal this matter. Item number 11, zoning code amendment to amend sections within the Title 15, Chapter 155 of the Santa Fe Springs Municipal Code relating to static and electronic billboards and determine that the project is exempt from CEQA. This matter is being continued to September 9th, 2024, Planning Commission meeting. So we opened the public hearing, is now open at 8:05. If anyone wishes to speak to the continuance only, please approach the podium. Do we have anybody wishing to speak? Okay, public hearing is now closed at 8:05. Is there a motion to continue this item to the September 9th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting?
Vice Chair Moore?
Sorry.
We're not really closing the public hearing because we're continuing the matter.
Okay, continue.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a motion to continue this item to the September 9th, 2024 meeting?
I'll move to continue this matter to September 9th, 2024.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner. Planning Commission Secretary, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Cervantes?
Aye.
Commissioner Flores?
Aye.
Commissioner Jimenez?
Aye.
Vice Chair Moore?
Aye.
Continued 4-0.
Okay, this item has been continued to the September 9th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting. Item number 12, development plan approval case number 1005 and modification permit case number 1361 to construct a new approximately 19,124 square foot concrete tilt-up industrial building and to reduce the required front yard setback along Freeman Avenue and Telegraph Road. I now call upon Associate Planner Clara Jimenez to introduce this item.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners, members of the audience and staff, and welcome Commissioner Isabel Cervantes. So before you tonight, I will be presenting you item number 12, and this is in reference to development plan case number 1005 and modification permit case number 1361. Project is located at 10320 Freeman Avenue within the M2 heavy manufacturing zone, and the property owner, it's Bridgeland Resources LLC, and the applicant before you here tonight is EPD Solutions. So a little background on the project site. The project site consists of a single parcel covering 1.1 acres. The project site is undeveloped and contains 1 active and 2 inactive oil wells. Abandonment of the oil well would be conducted pursuant to the requirements listed under the section code of 117.129 and 117.130 of the Santa Fe Springs Municipal Code. Additionally, the applicant's proposing to prepare a site for a development of a new concrete industrial building measuring 19,124 square feet. And this is on the corner of Freeman and Telegraph. The entitlement request tonight is development plan approval case number 1005 to construct a 19,124 square foot industrial building, and modification permit case number 1361, the reduction of a front yard setback. Entitlement development plan approval case number 1005. So the site plan, the project will include the construction of a new 19,124 square foot concrete tilt-up industrial building. Within the 19,124 square building, within it will be 3 loading doors. Can't see that far. 3 doors, 2 dock doors and 1 Can't see that far. And one grade loading door, yes. And they'll both be facing the north side of the building before you. Additionally, they will be providing screening for track activities. There's a 14-foot high proposed wall, a 10-foot high wall gate, and also a 8-high black tube steel fence. For this project alone, the requirement number of parking stalls is 39, and the applicant is providing 39 parking stalls before you. And landscaping requirements requires 10,200 square feet of required landscape, and the applicant is providing 11,256 square feet of landscaping within the Freeman and Telegraph corridor. Driving and circulation. The proposed project will be providing a driveway of 26 feet in width and also a 150 length fire aisle width, as well as a 26 wide fire aisle width. The floor plan before you is a 19,124 square foot building. Within that, the warehouse will include a 16,224 square warehouse area. The first floor will also include a 1,450 square foot office, and the second story would be a mezzanine of 1,450 square feet. These are the elevations before you, and I'm highlighting the south and the west, which is Freeman and Telegraph. Bear with me. So the elevations demonstrate that the proposed industrial building will showcase a contemporary design. The architect shall consider both arterial frontages along Telegraph Road and Freeman Avenue, and have incorporated a majority of the architectural treatments and features along the facades facing both arterials. The entrance to the office area, which is the north elevation, is adorned with extensive glazing, color variations, varying heights, and a unique blend of materials, concrete and aluminum, and similar to architectural treatments are applied to the remaining elevations, resulting in a visually appealing structure. And these are the color renderings that are proposed. This is the corner of Freeman and Telegraph. So for your consideration tonight, the project meets the criteria set forth in section 155.739 of the zoning ordinance for the granting a development plan approval. The project involves the construction of a new and attractive industrial building on a site that has been currently vacant land. And the design of the new concrete industrial building provides a high-quality architectural design as demonstrated by glazing and variations in mass, materials, and colors. There is a modification request as well. And the mod request is as follows. It's based on a 1-to-1 ratio as required by the code. The building is required to provide a 32-foot setback. And as proposed, the building will be set back 30 feet along Freeman Avenue and Telegraph Road. So a little summary of the zoning code. The summary states that the standard within the M2 heavy manufacturing zone on a standard street which fronts or is a corner side yard, should be 20 feet setback. And the major and secondary highways should have a setback of 30 feet. Nevertheless, when building has a height greater than the standard setbacks, the 1-to-1 ratio applies. So the subject property as proposed is a 32 front yard setback requirement off on Telegraph Road in Freeman. And again, the applicant's proposing a 30-foot. And these are the elevations on the west and on the south. Now, do note the difference of the 30 and the 32 is for architectural features. And here's an aerial view of the setbacks. And this is 30 and 32. So the applicant is providing the 1-to-1 ratio in certain areas, but the overall has to be a 1-to-1 ratio. So if the building is set back, has to be set back at 32 feet, and it's currently being proposed between 30 and 32. So therefore, we're asking for a 2-foot setback requirement. So for your consideration, the elements are simply architectural features. Setbacks provided for each feature individually. The project setback equals 2 or greater than nearby properties. And there's similar mods that have been granted in the past with exact request. So environmental review, bear with me. So after staff review and analysis, Staff made a preliminary determination that the project qualifies for categorically exemption from CEQA. The specific exemption is Class 32 section, 15332, an infill development project. Staff intends to file a notice of exemption in LA County Clerk and finding that the proposed project is categorically exempt. Publications were sent out on August 1st, 2024. The City Hall, Town Center Hall, and the library were also posted, and it was published in Cerritos or Whittier? I believe it was Cerritos? Cerritos, that's narrow on my part. So it was published in Cerritos August 1st in 2024, and as of today, no comments or inquiries have been made or received. Staff recommendation before you tonight is find that the project is categorically exempt pursuant to section 15332, class 32 infill development, approved EPA 1005 and MOD 1361, subject to the CUA's conditions of approval as stated within the resolution. I believe you do have a copy, and that's for resolution 269-2024 within attachment number letter A, and approved resolution number 269-2024, which incorporates the Planning Commission's findings and actions regarding this matter. And this concludes my presentation. The applicants are here before you tonight, should you have any questions for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. And do any of the commissioners have any questions on this item for planning staff?
Is the 2-foot modification just because of building design?
Just a building design.
Is there any detriment to a modification for the 2-foot setback?
In what sense, the determination?
Well, if it's 32 is required and they're asking for a 30-foot setback, is there any detriment of modifying this?
I can elaborate a little bit on the reason for the mod. So unique to Santa Fe Springs, we have a 1-to-1 ratio for our setback, and what's being requested is essentially architectural elements that project into the setback area, thus requiring a greater setback typically, but in this case, we're requesting the mod basically to offset that requirement. But as Claudia mentioned, in the areas that extend beyond the setback, there is equivalent setback for that portion of the building. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So some of it does have 32 setback, and then some is 30.
Correct.
So okay, cool.
I can add to that. So in portions of the building where it's 30 feet in height, you have a setback of 30 feet. And in portions of the building where it may be 32 feet in height, you have a setback of 32. And so it's a 1-to-1 on each portion of the building based on that section's height.
You had mentioned there's some abandoned oil wells, or?
Correct. There's currently there's a total of 3 oil wells there, which are going to be addressed by the applicant.
Okay.
He can answer some questions if you like regarding the oil wells. Yeah.
Right. Please state your city of residence for the record. Your name and city of residence.
Good evening, Vice Chair and Commissioners. My name is Dane Plangin, reside in Costa Mesa, California. I work on behalf of EPD Solutions. We're the owner's representative on behalf of Bridgeland Resources, who's the property owner. If you aren't familiar with Bridgeland Resources, they're actually the property owner for several properties within the jurisdiction of Santa Fe Springs, and they're an active operator of oil extraction. This property in general is one of many that are kind of being, in good faith, worked with the city of Santa Fe Springs to figure out, new highest and best uses. Currently there's 1 active oil well, 2 idle oil wells. As part of our conditions of approval to implement the new construction of this Class A industrial building, we would be required to go through the proper agencies necessary to abandon and allow for the redevelopment of the property. And also with that, I'll just say thank you for all staff's help over the past year. It's been instrumental in determining a viable option to highest and best use for this property.
Thank you very much. Okay, and let's see. Do any of the commissioners have any questions? No further questions? Okay, public hearing is now open at 8:19. Planning Secretary, is anybody here from the audience wishing to speak?
Done.
Thank you. All right. Okay, there are no speakers, so we are closed at 8:19. And now, do any of the commissioners have any questions, or now's the time for deliberation on this item? Do we have any discussion?
No discussions? Are we allowed to make comments? I just want to thank Bridgman Resources for redeveloping this property. I mean, it looks very nice, and I know that's kind of been vacant for quite some time. And
Finally.
I appreciate that as a commissioner and city resident. So.
Yes. Okay, do we have a motion to adopt resolutions number 269-2024, which incorporates the Planning Commission's findings and actions regarding this matter?
I'll move.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Planning Commission Secretary, roll call, please.
Commissioner Cervantes?
Aye.
Commissioner Flores?
Aye.
Commissioner Jimenez?
Aye.
Vice Chair Mora?
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
So ordered. There's a 14-day appeal period for anyone wishing to appeal this matter. All right. Staff, does staff have any announcements?
I have a few announcements tonight. First, I want to officially welcome Commissioner Cervantes to the Planning Commission on behalf of the entire community development staff. So welcome. If you're not already aware, Dollar Tree is now open. They officially opened on August 1st. So go spend your tax dollars or your money and bring in the tax dollars to the city. Third, we were informed today that the city just opened its first temporary hydrogen facility at the Tom's Truck Center. That it's the first of its kind. It's there really to service the Nikola trucks that Tom's Truck currently sells. So it's kind of like an added benefit if you purchase one of these hydrogen trucks from Tom's Truck. And I was told they start at $400,000, so not cheap. But hydrogen is seen as a better option than the electric trucks because of the length of time it takes to refuel, hydrogen being much more quicker than having to stick around and recharge a truck for hours on end. And then lastly, in addition to the static billboard ordinance that was continued tonight, staff has really been working hard on a lot of different advanced planning projects. What's coming before the city council soon is a special events ordinance. That is something that was in dire need of just an update. Currently, as it stands, the special events ordinance dictates that everything must go to the city council, even though in practice that does not occur. So we'll be changing that. But it will not go before you because it's not a change to the zoning code. It's a change to the municipal code, so it goes directly to city council. But just wanted to share that with you so that you're aware of it. That concludes my reports.
Any other staff member wishing to make comments or announcements?
I just wanted to welcome Isabel as well.
Okay, do any commissioners have any comments or anything to report on? Commissioner Flores.
I want to also welcome Commissioner Cervantes, welcome. And also to the planning staff. I was reading that agenda and I read most of it, but you guys put these things together and do all these case studies and compliance checks, and I know it's just a lot of work, so just, tip my cap to your guys' team. Hopefully they can open up some more positions and get more done.
Commissioner Jimenez.
Yes, I would like to officially welcome Commissioner Cervantes. Welcome to the team, and congratulate staff on such a great job, and commissioners for what we did tonight. It was a long meeting, but we went through it.
Thank you. Commissioner Cervantes, announcements.
Very interesting. I hope to be being able to input more and give more of my opinion. I don't know if you guys would like that one. But thank you for welcoming me, and I look forward to all the future meetings. And that's it.
All right. And I also want to officially welcome you to our team. I know you're going to be an asset to it. Thank you so much. And of course, all the work that our planning does, it's a lot. And it's a lot to take in, but, I appreciate all your hard work. And also, I don't know if this is a question I could pose now or if it got agendized, but I'd like to see progress on our downtown Santa Fe Springs, if there's a update on that in any moment in time.
We can bring it back officially, but I can give you a slight update, and Vince can chime in if necessary. But I think the city is currently working with a consulting firm that we selected through the SLA process to finalize an ENA for them to basically do a initial outreach to solicit potential developments for what we consider parcel 1, which is basically the sculpture garden site as well as the Chevron portion. We've also asked them to look into the possibility of expanding that initial project to include geysers if there's an opportunity there. We also were recently informed that NTMA is soon to be on the market, and also to explore the option and alternative to also include a bigger project on the north side of Telegraph. So all that is happening behind the scenes. I think I wish there was more to share, but just that information that is currently happening behind the scenes.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right. With that said, our meeting is now adjourned at 8:26. Next meeting of the Planning Commission is set for September 9th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Meeting adjourned.